Hey folks, hope you all are doing well. I'm Karan Bandal from Econosite, your weekly wrap on economic news from India and around the world. So let's get started. India's forex kitty rises. Let's put this into context first. If we go back to the beginning of 2021, India's foreign exchange reserves were sitting at $585 billion. We know that at the time, central banks in the developed world were issuing stimulus checks to their citizens. They were running on easy monetary policy where interest rates were zero bound. Money was cheap. So, a lot of foreign investment or US dollars flowed into the emerging markets like India, and in the process, it helped India's central bank build up its foreign exchange reserves. Forex reserves were rising and peaked at around $642 billion in September 2021. They remained somewhat stable, falling minimally to $632 billion by March of 2022. What happens in March 2022? Almost all the developed economies struggling with record high inflation start raising interest rates. Specifically, US Fed on March 17, 2022 starts raising their Fed funds rate, marking the end of an era of easy monetary policy. As of February 1st, 2023, Fed has hiked rates 8 times in a row, and you can see starting in March 2022, India's forex reserve began dropping sharply, bottoming at $524 billion by October 2022. This happened because as money, that is US dollar, world's reserve currency, became expensive, money flowed out of the world markets and flowed back into the US, since US assets are considered the safest in the world. All currencies against the mighty US dollar started falling. Indian rupee was no exception. As rupee started falling, RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, sold some of the dollars in its reserves to manage rupee's fall in a controlled manner. Thus, foreign reserves of India fell between March and October of 2022. Russia-Ukraine war that began in Feb 2022 also played a role in this dynamic. Investors seeking safety fled to the US dollar denominated assets, further putting pressure on global currencies. But since October 2022, the RBI has been steadily rebuilding its forex position. India's forex reserves increased to $576 billion in the week that ended on January 27th of 2023. Now this includes 4 components: foreign currency assets, gold reserves, special drawing rights, and reserve position with the IMF. Interestingly, India's gold reserves with the RBI have gone up from $37 billion in January 2021 to $44 billion as of February 4th, 2023. Another foreign exchange related update: India turns exporter of fuel for small planes. Due to the sanctions or ban on Russian oil from the West, there are many countries that cannot buy oil from Russia. India, on the other hand, not only continues to buy Russian oil but has multiplied its oil purchases from Russia in the interest of its national energy security. Combine this with India's homegrown capability of producing avgas 100LL domestically, and we find that India has turned itself from a net importer of aviation gasoline to an exporter of the same. State-owned company Indian Oil has made this possible. Avgas 100LL is an aviation gasoline product that India has been able to indigenously manufacture in Indian Oil's refinery located in Gujarat. Global market for aviation gasoline is estimated at around $2.7 billion and is projected to grow at around 5% every year. Aviation gasoline is used to power unmanned aerial vehicles, that is UAVs, and piston engine aircraft used by flying schools. So, by exporting aviation gasoline, India will save foreign exchange, it will make training in domestic flying institutes economical, and it will reduce operating costs of UAVs with the armed forces. You see, this is the significance of providing a value added service or a value added product. It has a multiplier effect on the economic benefits for a nation. One more update that will add to India's exports or foreign exchange: Apple Supplier in India begins making components for AirPods. In the past few weekly updates, we talked about Apple expanding its manufacturing presence in India, as evident from Apple exporting $2.5 billion worth of iPhones from India in just 9 months in 2022, and more than a dozen Apple suppliers or manufacturers getting the initial nod from the government to set up shops in India. Add to that, one of the Apple's key suppliers, Jabil Inc., has begun making components for AirPods in India. US based company Jabil operates a roughly 850,000 square foot facility employing more than 2,500 workers in Pune, a cultural capital of the western state of Maharashtra. This India unit of Jabil Inc. has begun shipping AirPods enclosures or plastic bodies to China and Vietnam, where the wireless earphones are assembled. Apple is now one step closer to being able to manufacture, assemble, and export AirPods from India. Let's talk about the two Eurozone economies. Initial GDP estimates are now available on Germany and Belgium. German government predicts a growth of 0.2% in 2023 against the initial expectation of 0.4% decline. German authorities seem confident that the economic crisis triggered by the Russian invasion of Ukraine is now manageable. They remain concerned, however, on account of high energy prices, relatively high interest rates, and sticky inflation. Euro area inflation came in at 8.5% for January of 2023. Lower than expected, yes, but quite high when you look at US inflation sitting at around 6.5% and inflation in India at 5.9%. Now on Belgium, according to the preliminary estimates released by the National Bank of Belgium, Belgium's economy grew by 0.1% in quarter 4 of 2022, quarter over quarter. Their growth has now been slowing for 3 consecutive quarters, since they are also dealing with high interest rate, inflation and energy costs. Still, Belgium put up an impressive performance, growing at 3.1% for the full year 2022. Let's wrap up with an interesting story from Australia. Lynas Rare Earths quarterly revenue rises. Lynas Rare Earths is an Australian rare earths mining company. They mine specialized metals used in components of electric vehicles. Lynas is the largest producer of rare earths outside China. Neodymium and praseodymium are among the major minerals that they mine. These two minerals are used to make magnets that power electric motors. As countries around the world push towards green energy and decarbonization, demand for these minerals is on the rise. On account of that, Lynas's revenue rose to US dollars 165 million in quarter 4 2022, a 14.8% jump from the same quarter the year before. China dominates and controls the rare earths production space. So this is good. We need more production centers for these specialized metals that aren't under Chinese influence. So India continues to perform well on economic front with rebuilding its foreign exchange reserves and creating new avenues to bring in more foreign exchange. Eurozone countries continue to struggle with high inflation but are exhibiting resilience and eking out better than expected growth numbers. And we need more companies like Lynas to create competition in rare earth metals mining space. I hope you enjoyed this week's wrap. I'll speak with you again next week. Until then, take care.